Welcome to another edition of Money Truth Moments with a very own money whisperer, Judy. Good morning, Judy. How you doing?
Good morning, Carlos. I'm awesome. Good to see you this fine Tuesday morning. You doing well?
I'm doing excellent. I'm looking forward to our show because we're continuing talking about questions from our audience. So, folks, if you're just joining us, welcome to the show. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. Website is right above us, so make sure that you visit the site. We'll talk a little bit more about the website and what available resources are there for you to use and take advantage of as well, too. But we have been talking the last few shows about questions from our audience. We've covered a lot of personal questions. We've covered business questions. Today's questions are going to be a little bit more a mix of both. And so what do you say we get started?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So one of the big questions that came up, it kind of made me laugh a little bit, was one of our audience members wrote, "We always talk about the truth about money, but we really haven't talked about the truth about money." So they want to know, what is the truth about money, right? And I thought, that's interesting, right? So what is the truth about money?
Wow, there are so many truths, what I call money truths about money. But really, I think there are a few concepts that stand out. One of them is just the way the industry works, the way the economy shapes financial services in our country, and I think globally, right? I wish it were better, honestly. I think one of the things to remember is that in the financial industry, when you're investing, you're dealing with insurances and entities, business entities, and things like that. You're the target. you're the product. The people are the product, and they don't realize that. And I think when you realize this truth, it can really change the way you navigate, and you'll end up with a lot more at the other end in your planning. So the reason I would say you're a target and you're the product is that financial services is all about commissions. It's all about gathering assets and making money off your money. And anytime the money moves, anytime there's a premium or a fee, there's money that is moving away from you, not towards you. Sometimes I'll tell a story of a lumberjack, and it's like, he's the guy that's renting the room down the hall in your house. And he's Mr. Money, and his job is to go stack the wood, go out and do the work and then come back. Mr. Money, you should put him to work. And he should be working for you. When he stacks the wood, it should be in your yard, not the yard of the banker, not the yard of the mortgage guy, not the yard of the broker dealer, not the yard of the investment manager, the 401k provider, or the insurance agent. It should be you primarily. And unfortunately, the industry is not necessarily that way. So there are hidden costs. There are layers of fees that impact most people in their portfolio, in their IRA, in their investment account. They have no idea what the costs are, what they're actually paying for the services they're having delivered. And so once you uncover that and you're aware and you're confident asking, exactly what am I paying? Exactly what are you charging me for these services? I think that's a good question to kind of have in your back pocket. And it's a fair question to ask in the financial industry. So that, I think, would be one of the money truths that, kind of leads the team there.
So we're talking about the financial industry. So, for a lot of folks, there's a lot of mistrust because of experiences, because they don't know any better. So take us down the path of if we're looking to talk to a financial planner, we covered this before as well. What are some things that we should really be careful, specifically if we don't know any better, right? We know that there's the good, bad, the ugly in the industry, not only just in financial industry, but in other industries as well. But with your expertise, what are some best practices that you can share with our audience regarding the financial industry?
Well, you never want to, say, who cut your hair? Who's that guy? You never want to have, make people feel bad about what they've done or what they're thinking of doing, or, that kind of thing. So, I want to tread carefully here, but I think if you stick with financial professionals, like when you're looking at people to manage your money for you, manage your investments or grow your wealth, do your financial planning for you. I think if you stick with professionals that are paid for that, not paid for what they're selling you, to me, that's the difference between a professional and not a professional. It's just like, football. If you're a professional, that means you're paid to play football, or you do it for a hobby or fun or whatever other reason, for scholarship. And so most financial professionals are not professional. They're not paid for the services they're providing. They're paid for the products they're delivering. They're the sales organization. And I think that's kind of the bottom truth about the industry is you're dealing with a sales organization, not a service organization for the most part. Now, you can find service providers. And the way you can do that is if you're looking to, invest your money and grow your wealth and have all that managed for you, the growth part of your financial world, you can hire a fiduciary. And a fiduciary by law has to get the conflict of interest out of the way. And they have to take care of you by law and document in writing why the advice they're delivering is the best advice, all the other options they looked at, and why this is the best one. You could hire a CFP. Now, many CFPs, probably most of them, are still in the sales organization, but they at least have formal training. They had to go to college. They have to know something about managing your money rather than the sales training. So those would be good places to start. A fiduciary, a planner, a real strategist that has a background that can serve you well, and someone that will work with your philosophy and your mindset. And one thing that I do want to say, and it's one of these other money truths, is mindset is everything when it comes to your personal finances and even your small business finances. If you can get rid of the shame and, the mess up you did before, or the guy or the lady that you hired before that really, they weren't serving you well. And it's like, shoot, I saw it coming. I should have seen it coming. Just get rid of all that. Get rid of the conflict in the marriage about, fighting over money. There's much more interesting things to have conflict over than money. But when you can get your mindset right, get your head clear, clarity is a big one, right? And just get free from all what you did before or the fear you have about making a move, the better. So those things will help you and in your journey.
Excellent, folks, and thank you for joining us this morning. If you're just joining us now, make sure you watch the beginning of the show. We're continuing to answer some questions from the audience. We're talking today more specifically about the truth about money, which some questions came up about that. So Judy's sharing some of her wisdom with that on the truth. If you're not following her, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. We're going to talk about her website in a little bit, so you guys will understand a little bit more about what to expect from the website and different tools that can help you guys also. So fear, right? Fear is the big one. Fear for everybody when it comes to money, when it comes to health, when it comes to just about everything, right? That's what stops us from moving forward. So in talking about fear, another question that came up was, where should I be putting my dollar, right? Because I see the news and that freaks me out. And I see that if I don't do this, then I can't move forward with my plans, in the future and all that as well. So how do you get past that fear?
Yeah, fear can be paralyzing. And it's like if you don't know what to do, or if you're scared to make a mistake, you do nothing. And sometimes that's the mistake, doing nothing. So, the question right now is, we see the world changing. We see something we've never seen before. There's war and there's inflation and all that. I've been around long enough to have seen this before. Some of us have. If you look at the headlines, 50 years ago, they are exactly the same. 50 years before that, exactly the same. The same shortages, the same concerns, the same everything. Now it's a little more visible because we all have cell phones and the news, feed is like 24/7. And so we can see things unfolding, we can see changes, but the changes shouldn't be, fear making. It's okay to be, concerned, have a healthy concern about the future and the economy and what's happening in the world. But it's not the first time we've been there. And we'll probably be there again. I don't know if it'll be 50 years, but we'll probably be there again. So, people sometimes their time frame is like right now. If they're looking at the market, they're looking at the last week or the last month. And I always encourage people to just kind of take that focus they have and zoom out to a longer period of time where you can see recovery. And you can go back 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and you always see this recovery. our economy here, our underpinnings are very strong. And I think it sounds like I'm pitching, for you to be, putting money in stock, which, maybe you should have some there. But there's so many ways to invest money. It should be real estate, it should be stock, it should be bonds, it should be any other instruments that are interest related. Alternatives. There's so many investments that are not related to either the stock market or the interest rates. So many things that you can do, people just don't know. Maybe they're not as high commission, sold by the people that are selling whatever else to you. So there are things that you can do to find balance. And I always encourage that, because when you have balance, you can weather the storms of either the equity markets going down. Those are the ones you see all the red scrolling, that we get concerned about on TV at night. But there are other markets that we're involved in, other investments that we have that make our money grow. And having a perfect pie, when they show a pie chart and part of your investments are red and green and blue and yellow, you want to have a little of everything to have a perfect balance. And then that kind of gives me, a pathway for another conversation that might be healthy for people to know, to answer the question about where should I put my dollars? Where should I be investing right now? And I think anything that you can do, from a tax perspective, that's tax-free growth, that would be number one. If you've exhausted all of those options, like 529s and insurance products and Roth IRAs, anything that's appropriate in that category, then you move on to tax-deferred products or tax-deferred investments. And that's your 401k, your IRA, 403b, any kind of a deferred comp package at work, where you're not paying tax money on the dollars you earned this year. You'll pay them later after it's earned more money. And down the road, the trajectory is much better with the money we'll earn. And then finally, if you've exhausted everything you can do tax-free, everything you can do tax-deferred, then you go to the non-qualified investment categories. And I think if you mind your taxes, you mind the alternatives that you have that way, and you mind your allocation, like balancing properly the investment dollars that you have. You don't want to keep it all in savings. You don't want to keep it all in real estate. Some people do that, and then something changes and you get kind of caught, right? And you saw that in 2008, everybody was buying extra houses, and then they didn't have enough capital or other alternative investments to weather that storm, and they lost their properties. So you just want to be mindful of those concepts, and I think those will help you down the road.
Excellent. And I actually want to follow with one more question on here too, which is, when you're talking about investment, you have a lot of folks, and a lot of our audience members have mentioned this too, because they don't know the stock market. They've never done anything like that. There's that fear again, right? So what would you say to folks who are, they decide, okay, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to put my toe in the water, feel this out. And then you get people that are constantly watching it by the hour, right? Oh, it just went down. It went down $25. It went down $100. It went down $1,000. And they just, all of a sudden, it's like, see, I told you, this is why I was afraid, and so forth. What do you say to folks like that?
I just
I call kind of like non-believers, right? Really.
Don't do that. There's evidence for anything. Like, you can, on your cell phone, you can Google anything and find a whole spectrum of opinions on anything, and they will all swear they're telling you the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Just don't do that. It's red, it's green, it's red, it's green. It's going to go up and down, especially we have an election year this year right now, right? Anytime there's an election year, if you're watching that equity market, the stock market, you're going to see a lot more volatility than a normal year. And then when you have news happening, we're in an emotional market. People buy because, they sell because, right? And so when there's a bunch of stuff coming up, there's going to be more movement. And so you think, oh, the movement's going to be bad. But what you don't want to do is buy high and sell low. That's just so stupid. Think about it. That's just not good basic economics. But people do that because, you see, ABC stock, and it's going up and it's going up and it looks good, and I want to jump in, and I don't know what it's going to do. You wait till everybody's excited and it's at the high, and then you buy it. And then, it goes, and then it starts going down. It's like, oh, I better get out. I better get out. They're all getting out. I think they're selling. I should sell. And you wait until it rides all the way to the bottom, and then you sell. That's the emotional dumb way to do it. What you want to do is buy low, sell high, or just wait, buy low, let it go, let it run its course, and diversify, because not every stock's going to be a Tesla, right? Or an Amazon, but we're going to have some of those in a portfolio if it's well-rounded. And you're going to enjoy those, maybe not 100%, thousandfold. You're going to have some that maybe just, pay out dividends and have value over time. And they're all different. So you want to have a diversified portfolio, not just of stock, but of all these other alternatives we're talking about, and then just give it time.
Excellent. Great advice. And I appreciate you covering that also, because it has come up and it ties right into the word fear. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
Just this little word can hold us back from a lot of great things and so forth. So speaking of great things, let's talk about your website. If you're just joining us, folks, welcome to the show. We're about to talk to Judy about judycopenbarger.com. And if you haven't joined us from the beginning, please do so. We're answering a lot of great questions, or actually Judy's answering a lot of great questions regarding the truth about money. So tell us what folks can find on your website.
Oh, there's so many things. There's articles, there's videos, there's education, some basics, some a little bit higher level on everything you can think about for small business owners, for ministry owners, for families that are just trying to navigate money well. So all of those things are available. There's also access to our online mastery program. It's called Money, Truth, and Life Online Mastery Program. And there are courses there on every aspect of finance, all 5 pillars. Whether it's taxation, it's a big one right now. We're in the middle of tax time. All the investments, insurances, every kind of insurance, business insurance to health, life, casualty, tort liability, coverage, some thoughts about that, what you should do or consider. Even, should I have earthquake insurance here in California? Should I have flood insurance? I live near a river. All of that and kind of how it works and what you should be considering. Good questions to ask your insurance person. Legal matters. Should I incorporate my business? What kind of corporation should I choose? And when should I do that? Should I have a will, for my family? Should I have a trust? And what's the difference? And when would I choose which? All of those, powers of attorney, even down to the decisions that you make about your body, like who's going to choose what happens with my body if I'm, in a coma or I'm in surgery and a decision needs to be made. All of those things, all of those legal things. So every aspect of finance, all the way down to those kind of nitty gritty ones, are covered in the Money, Truth, and Life Online Mastery Program. And it's free. You can sign up for any class you want in any course and learn something and better yourself and make sure that you're navigating way better the financial journey that you're on.
Excellent, folks. And if, excuse me, if you don't know, a lot of this is free resources on Judy's website. So make sure you take the time, invest some valuable time. It's only going to help you in the long run. So I appreciate you having those resources available for our audience as well too. So you mentioned the 5 pillars as part of the resources and all that, which is interesting because that's going to be my next set of questions of people that called in and asked these questions. Can you review for us the 5 pillars? And actually at the very end, I'm going to ask you to focus on the taxation piece of it, only because we are during that time as well too. But folks would really like to review a little bit of the 5 pillars.
Yeah, so there are 5, every decision you make, every choice, every day that you make about your money happens in at least one of the 5 pillars. So it's pretty well broken down. So 2 of them are very protective in nature, like you're protecting the wealth as you grow it. The other 2 are the growth ones. And then there's one that's a little bit neutral. So let's talk about the protection. Just like a greenhouse is a protective structure in which you grow your crops or you grow your garden. So the 2 protective areas of your personal finance are going to be legal and insurance. Legal is going to be the wills and the trusts and the what if corporations and entities for. And then the insurance is going to be the what if, what if the house burns down, you get a new one. What if I crash my car? I get a new one, things like that. What if I can't work for a while? The health coverage will be there and maybe even some disability insurance, if you're at work that has that. So those are the protective areas, legal and insurance. The growth areas are investments and then the cash flow and reserves. So, how much money should I have in the bank for a rainy day? What if I have a job where I'm paid bonuses or commissions and I have an unequal flow of cash? I don't get a paycheck every Friday or every, twice a month, But I sell something, I get boom, $20,000, and then I sell something, boom, I get 30,000. And in between, it's like, uh-oh, how do you manage that? So that's cash flow and cash reserves. And then your investments are going to be everything about the bears and the bulls and the stocks and the interest related instruments and 401ks and 403bs and what's the difference and how do I choose and can I choose? All of those things. And then the final fifth pillar is the one you mentioned, taxation. And it's not necessarily about growth or protection. It's more neutral. It's just something that has to be dealt with.
Excellent. So when we're talking about taxation, obviously there's different ways to look at your personal versus your business. What are some maybe tips that you can give both for personal and for business? So best practices when we're getting ready to file taxes or we're looking into filing taxes.
Well, I think the first thing, and we talked a little bit about the emotional side of money stuff, the shame, the regret, the blame, and the big one is fear. The paralyzing fear. And for some reason, so many people have fear when it comes to Sam. They're afraid of Sam, IRS, Uncle Sam, right? They're just so fearful. What if I get an audit? What if they don't like what I did? What if I did it wrong? What if I make a mistake? What if they charge me more penalties and interest and take my house and my whatever? It's not always that adversarial. And I think sometimes where the fear comes from is maybe just the unknown. Because, in law school, I have a tax emphasis. It's kind of like majoring, in tax and law school. And took all these classes and learned all this stuff, all the basics of that. And it's amazing how many courts are dedicated to tax and how many volumes and volumes and volumes of these giant big fat books are dedicated to tax law. And they add more all the time. Every year there's like a whole nother wall full of books about the new rules and how they're going to be managed, as the cases trickle in. It's amazing. Very voluminous, very confusing. I don't know why we have to have such a complicated taxation system, but we do. And mostly I'm talking about income tax. There's a lot of other taxes, gift and estate and excise, all kinds of taxes. But it is very voluminous, very confusing. Even professionals, CPAs and enrolled agents and, folks that tax lawyers, they don't know it all. Because as soon as they figure it out, it changes every Tuesday. It's crazy. So I can see how people would have an emotional, visceral reaction to thinking about tax or audits. But I think the one way to just cut through a lot of that is by preparation. And this is advice, whether you're running a business or just personal finances, just your household. Preparation, being organized, knowing what you need to keep, knowing what you don't need to keep, preparing. Like right now, during this recording, we are here right about tax time. So we're in March, wrapping up March. So already we have 1/4 of the year that we can prepare for. We can make sure that we've documented all of our expenses. We have all the records that back them up. We know what our income has been. You can do 1/4 of your planning already. Instead of, right after Christmas, you get everything on the dining room table, you start collecting 1099s and K1s, and it's just this big push and crazy stuff. But if you save all along, if you do that planning every quarter, by the end of the year, you have almost all of it pulled together, which for most people is the big stressor, finding the information and what do I need, right? But you can do that all year long. Just keep a little tax file, and every quarter, gather what you need from that quarter, put it together. By then you'll have a list going of things that need to be discovered. And then you have time to do it, not when it's Valentine's Day, right? So preparation, that was a long-winded answer, but preparation is the key. Being organized, knowing what you need. This time of year, people are scrambling to do that, but it's a good time to make a list or create whatever your system is online, file system. It could be paper, it could be folders on the laptop where you put all of the information that you're going to need for next year. And then you're not scrambling to not only find where to put it, but to find a lot of what you've already prepared from the year before. So that would be kind of another long-winded answer to say, prepare, be organized, and don't wait till the last minute.
Excellent. And also, since we're talking about prepare, you know what time it is, right? It's a favorite part of our show. All right, Judy, tell us what you got this week.
All right, we've got a challenge for you. So here's your challenge. We were talking about, mindset a little bit about how the industry works, the financial industry works, and things that you can do to further the trajectory of your success. So the challenge I have for you is really about this last conversation we've had about taxes, because we've got tax on our mind right now. We've got all that in front of us. So the first thing that I want you to do with pen and paper is write down what you can do to be better prepared for this next year for your taxes. Do you need to put a system together? Do you need to talk to somebody? Do you need to hire a CPA maybe for the first time, or upgrade the service provider you've been using? What is that thing that will really make a difference for you in the area of taxes in your finances? The second thing is take action on that. So you need to call somebody, you need to make an appointment. If it's hiring a new CPA, I would wait until after the third week of April because they might not take your call right now. But actually take action. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have with your spouse or another family member. Maybe it's something you need to do at work, talk to HR and find out what benefits are there. And, change the exemptions that you're taking on your taxes, to make sure that you don't end up paying a big bill that you might be facing this year. So actually do something. And then I think the third and final thing would be to really think about the benefits of having made that decision. What would the outcome be of making that call, of hiring that person, of making that choice, of changing your payroll exemption, whatever it is? What will be the outcome and the ideal result of having done the activity that you're considering doing? And how will life be better because you did it? I think it's important to write that down. So that's your challenge.
Excellent, folks. And again, if you're just joining us, please make sure you watch the beginning of the show, as Judy has been discussing the truth about money and a lot of great wisdom that she has shared with you guys. We've talked about her website, and make sure that if you're not following her, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. All of our social media links are on there as well. Judy, any last parting words?
No, just make a big difference today. You can do it.
All right, folks, we're here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Make sure you tune in, share it with a friend as well. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Take care, Judy.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.